Vanakkam Chennai. Good afternoon, everyone. Sorry for digging into your lunch time, but uh, today we are going to discuss AI, and AI is there in your device, in your factories, deep into your digital business that has been running. But the real question is, are we really ready to take this weight of transformation? If I were to ask you a question, is your business ready for AI? 50% of the hands would go up here. But is your business adaptable to AI? I'm not really sure. So this is what this panel is about. We are going to dig into this exact problem with Ms. Durga Ratina Swami, who is working at the core intersection of the chip that powers the AI and runs on cloud, and Ms. Minty Vimal from Equinix, who actually, literally builds the digital backbone of this infrastructure, data centers, network, and fiber. A huge round of applause for both the ladies, please. Yeah. So to start the panel, the first question is, every company here is betting big on AI, like huge. So the question is this AI investment really solving a problem, or is it still looking for a problem to solve?
Thank you, Twinkle, for this wonderful question. And thank you, everyone, for attending this women's panel. From our company's perspective, we are not only solving, but Equinix is positioning its business as its new digital core. AI is our new digital core. With our hyperscale business, which is what we call as xScale business, we understand this demand and the way we are expanding globally. This demand is real for us. It's just not a situation where we are trying to solve the problem, but we are actually repeatedly the problems that are arising in our AI, we are solving this. What we are doing is we are solving with our data sovereignty, securing private cloud connectivity and operational complexity at scale. So this problem that we are solving is just not hypothetical, but it's a real situation that we are growing. The latest launch that we had in MB3 and the last year's launch with our CN1 project in Chennai, we are designing with liquid cooling here with our capacities to actually support AI workloads and ML workloads. So yes, this situation is for real and we are solving repeatable ones.
Thank you for giving that perspective. And in fact, every organization in this room is betting on AI, and so do I. And what that actually that doesn't come into the investor deck is essentially what Gartner says, that 85% of the AI projects actually they fail to move from pilot to production. And if you take the underlying reason, it's essentially not the technology per se, and it is because of the underlying data. And as a data practitioner, I would like to give a perspective from there. So where I have run large-scale e-commerce and fintech organizations with data and AI platforms. And if you look at the investment, that is real, and the intent, it's also genuine. But but the underlying data, which is on top of these AI strategies, is not ready to actually carry that weight. So that actually makes it even more challenging. And when all your ML models or your pipelines, which runs in real time, or your large scale analytics run, so it doesn't scale to that way because this topic doesn't come into the boardroom discussion, and most of the time it gets skipped, and that is where the real problem is. And if you look at any enterprise which actually wins in this, they share a common thing, which is building the infrastructure before investing in the AI model. So, and the rest too actually falls into two traps. One is the infrastructure without application. So where the enterprise might have high GPUs or the cloud, very good cloud contracts. But if you, they will not have a better clarity in terms of driving the ROI. And the second one is the application without the foundation. So where the AI models will be running on top of dirty data or ungoverned data. So this is the second trap. So to conclude, if you say the real business problem is not how we use AI, it is about how it actually makes the business take faster decisions at scale. And that doesn't come from the technology, and it comes from the trust. And unlike GPUs, trust is not bought, it has to be built.
That's a great conclusion from Durga and Minty. Thanks a lot for answering this question, which brings us to a conclusion that definitely there is a real demand which is building around the world and the globe, and India is moving towards it. So, Minty, like you mentioned, Equinix has opened its 4th data center last month in Mumbai. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Well, India accounts for 20% of world's global data center capacity, but we only have 3% of world's data centers built in India. So my question is to you, how do we bridge this gap faster? Is there a problem with power, policy, or something else?
For this, Twinkle, I'd like to explain what's the Equinix policy, what's Equinix looking in India. So Equinix in India is primarily focused on its retail co-location segment. If you look at this segment year on year, it grows anywhere between 15 to 25%. We are contributing to various large and medium BFSI enterprises, local e-commerce segments, and multiple other allied customers. What happens is, from the India demand perspective, if you look at the major demand that comes from the hyperscalers, your global cloud players, and we are into the segment which are building on the retail segment. So if you overall look at our hyperscale segment, that actually looks at almost 75 to 80% of the demand in the country today. And Equinix is very well present and paced with the moderate growth, but we are strongly present in Mumbai and Chennai, both these markets, to cater to our retail demand. So there is no policy, there is no mindset or bottleneck for our particular growth, but it is the retail demand which is moderately growing at a modest pace.
Got it. The other question is for you, Durga, that AI-ready infrastructure at the data center level, everyone is building. But what about the AI-ready data center at the application layer? Being in BFSI sector, there are billions of data which is running every day, but the data is not governed, queryable, or at a model-ready time in a real-time basis. So how do you deal with this kind of a problem at an application layer?
That's a great question. In fact, as a data practitioner, that's very much relevant to me. And if you take a data center, that is something we are at a pace where we can actually set it up even in this year. But when it comes to the decision making out of that, it's more like we are still not there, I would say, because we know we are building a Ferrari without a fuel, and most enterprises are in that way. And according to Forrester, they say that around 60 to 73% has data which are not used for their analytics. And in reality, I am seeing it when I build those applications as well. So it is not that we are not collecting the data. So we collect the data, it's just that we don't have it in a queryable format or in the structured format which enables the decision to be taken much faster. So there we are still not there at the application level. So in the application level, there are certain principles which needs to be enforced, be it in terms of the data governance, data quality, data lineage, data security, data privacy, and how to bring this data in a more real-time way. So all of these things add a lot of effort, and also that is what actually makes the data center and the infrastructure to go in line. And if you take it, all the one who's actually winning is the one who has actually built this unglamorous work, I would say, and that is very crucial. And if we don't realize it, we might be still wondering why the AI transformations aren't delivering. And by the time we realize, we would have lost the game.
Yeah. So we are still bridging some gap at the application layer
Exactly.
where people would actually be able to use that for their day-to-day query
True,
solving
because
purpose.
many feel that it is more like an unglamorous work, and the reason being that it doesn't come into the boardroom discussion. So the boardroom discussion is always into the AI output and the action that they have to take on it, but they don't speak about the underlying data which actually powers these AI models.
Correct. That's so true, coming from a data practitioner. So, Minty, next question's for you. Like, Equinix has recently launched Fabric Geo Zones across the globe. And what this means is basically your data which runs on cloud can cross boundaries. But with having a geo network, it is geographically restricted to a particular country at the network layer itself. So my question is, with India having so many conversations in BFSI sector to healthcare to government on data localization, does this solution of Equinix really help? When is Equinix bringing this solution to India? And is this a really solution for a multi-cloud strategy as well?
Uh, Twinkle, this problem is real. It is not just for our country, but this problem is, globally present. There are multiple customers, multiple cloud players who face these policy changes. When you look at our company, which is globally present, with our customers, varying from Americas to Europe to Africa, in the APAC region, we do have our fabric geozones. We need to see to it that we do not violate any policies from a cloud perspective as well as from a policy perspective of every different governments. Now for Equinix, here in India, we have DPDP Act, which allows cross-border, flow of data. But, RBI for every transaction and for any healthcare transaction have restrictions to be not permitting these, data to be flowing out of the country. And for Equinix, where there is data sovereignty, there is, a network layer, from our side, which is our fabric, which is what we follow. And this is also, in India. But from an India perspective, today it's a wait and watch from a policy, because policy is at the draft layer. And, when this policy advances and when the clarity comes that where the data can flow or where the data is not permitted to flow, this fabric geozones will come into play, definitely. But there's no public timelines yet. But what I would like to say is that where we are present in India, wherever there is data sovereignty, we will be there with our network layer. So this is true for India as well. Is just that when the time is coming to us in India, that depends on where the policy is. Currently, we are following what cloud faces challenges, and that's why multi-cloud is what we rely on. We don't rely on single cloud, but we rely on multi-cloud. So it's just not a single layer, it's multi-cloud layer for us. And that's what our customers rely on us. So yes, if India requires it, we are present, and Mumbai strongly and Chennai strongly fits into that.
Definitely. So I hope the government comes out with the data localization policy soon and we can have fabric geo zones from Equinix in India. So the fifth question is for Durga. So hyperscalers make cloud native AI seem so seamless, but when you're looking at the BFSI and tech platforms with billions of data running on it, so there's an AI strategy being made while at the designing stage to govern that data. The question is, while this decision is being made, billions of investment is going into that AI strategy. So is that AI strategy really financially viable, or is it going to be a cost center? So that question can only be answered once it has been implemented. So the question is, are there really some questions which people don't answer about the AI workloads running on large scale on cloud and the cost center?
Yeah, when it comes to the cloud native cost, essentially if you look at the pitch deck, so it shows only the speed. It doesn't talk about the billing. So that only the monthly invoice comes at the end of the month or the quarterly. So you will actually know the truth. And I have been in that real world, so where the executive leaders will ask you the most uncomfortable questions. And there are two hard truths when it comes to this cost. So the first one is the cloud cost with AI is not the procurement based. It is actually the architecture based. Because most people believe that if the enterprise procures most of it, and they actually overshoot the cloud cost. And in fact, Gartner says that most of the enterprises, 85% of the companies will overshoot their cloud cost. And that is essentially not because what we bought. It is because how we have built it. And that is something that's my day-to-day job as well, to put the right controls. And that comes only with the architecture. As you said that with regards to, because I'm in the e-commerce and also have been in the fintech, where we generate millions of events per day. So with the transactions, with the clicks, with the returns, with the pricing signals, with the inventory movements. So with all of that, the architecture is the base. So it is not that when the millions of data is coming, we can't keep on scaling the procurement. It actually comes from how the underlying data is governed, how the tables are partitioned or sharded, and how the clusters are provisioned. So this forms the base. So hence the architecture is the problem and architecture is the fix. And the second hard truth is in terms of AI models are not steady state. So it is always unpredictable, and it is very hungry. And like she pointed out, multi-cloud is the way to go. So it's not the cost at one place you have to maintain. It is at multiple phases. And when that's the case, it has to be, the auto-scaling architecture is not actually is not something that has to be a nice to have feature. It is something which is very essential. And to close on that, the pitch deck doesn't show all of these numbers. Only your invoice will show. So which means this cost governance has to be an engineering practice and not a FinOps exercise.
Yeah, I really hope that India also come up with a law that China has, that you cannot cut down on your workforce because of AI. That would really help us.
Yeah, the things would change there as well because, as I said in the first question, because most of the AI projects from pilot it doesn't get into the production, and yeah, we have to correct somewhere ourselves both from the people, process, and our expectations.
Definitely. So, the last question for the panel, beyond the technology, what is the biggest cultural or traditional hurdle that you face from transitioning from a traditional company to a AI-driven digital core company?
Um, this questions gets asked by everybody and anybody, whether it's in your social circle, whether it's in the office, or whether, with friends. Basically, it is the mindset and the continuous adaptation that we need to undertake, companies need to undertake. We need to be flexible, and it cannot be just an AI over the old data or the old way of functioning. It has to be inculcated, it has to be practiced, and it has to be used. The basic is, the data or the AI workloads, these systems have to, with minimal human intervention, has to accept the change, has to learn from them, and has to, kind of practically deploy the changes. That's what AI will need to do, and that's what companies need to learn from. And if we are not able to try and accept this change, then that's a bigger problem for organizations. So organizations have to continuously evolve their strategies, be agile and resilient to these market shifts. And I understand that's what, we are all working towards.
Just to expand to what she mentioned, I mean, so far we have been discussing in terms of the infrastructure cost, compliance, and the data center. Even if we have all of this, and let's say we have a bad architecture, bad data, and very poor budgets, what actually will make the system even more vulnerable is when the decision maker, when someone at the business who makes this decision, he doesn't trust the data which is given as the output of the AI model. So when that trust is not there, it goes back to what she mentioned on the mindset. So that actually disables the whole ecosystem that has been built. So one is the trust. So let's say there is no trust, and that we might have built the sophisticated AI system, but if the operations manager comes in every morning and he actually doesn't trust the data and he changes his decision with his instinct, then we have built a very expensive dashboard and not an AI transformation. And that again will come to the ownership, which she also mentioned that. So I leave everyone in this room with that very thought, because trust and ownership is the base of this. And that is not a technology problem, and that's a leader problem. And every leader in this room has to take that as an action item and to start working on that.
So, to sum up, from making the business to adapt to AI, we need to trust and transform and evolve with AI. That's how India is going to grow in the future, so that we all can also grow along with the world. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.